Hi, everybody. This is Steve Blair with Lyceum Insurance Services, and continuing our series on the changing workplace, we have our teammate and colleague and very good friend, Althea Jacques, who is also on the Lyceum Insurance Services team, here to introduce herself to everybody. If you haven't had an opportunity to meet her or to work with her, she is amazing. But also for us to have an opportunity to talk about how things have changed within the work environment. And now with the pandemic and with people working either hybrid or completely at home, it's created opportunities for potential risk that a lot of people may not know that they have for their organization and haven't really had an opportunity then because you're not aware of the liability to be able to protect your organization from it. So with that, hi, Althea.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm great. Tell everybody a little bit about you.
Hi. I have actually been a P&C broker for a little over 18 years. I work with a lot of nonprofits, but also for-profit organizations. And I really focus in or try to focus in beyond the regular office package work on D&O and professional liability, because a lot of people don't realize that they need some of those coverages. And of course, this year, the hot topic, not just this year, but for the last few years, has been cyber liability.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of that right now, especially, I mean, when I'm a news junkie, and it seems like every time I open up the news, no matter what outlet I happen to be reading, that there's something about some type of cyber attack. I mean, even yesterday they were talking about these global outages from Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp, and I'm sitting there like, they haven't said that it was hacking, but you have to look at it and go, given that this is affecting, on such a massive scale right before I believe Facebook was going into Congress was going to be talking to them again and about a whistleblower complaint. And right before that, bam, they get hit. And it seems to me that, with that, it's always something happening, but it's not just large businesses that have to be concerned about that. Small businesses do too.
Actually, and people don't realize that most of the hacking and the ransomware and the phishing schemes are actually small to mid-sized businesses. Because let's put it this way, the hackers, they want the easy mark. And a lot of people, business owners, think if they're smaller that, oh, they won't hack me. They're going after big companies. Actually, you're their ideal target. You're smaller. You don't have the security that a lot of these larger companies have. And if they can get in there, you are, as we say, with hacking, it's not if you're going to get attacked with ransomware or phishing, or it's when.
Interesting. Well, I got phished this morning. I had got an email this morning from the Lyceum HR department. And I was like, oh, really? I sent an email to myself.
Yes, I mean, it's very widespread now. And the costs have gone up and in the last few years, because before when they were doing just identity theft, so they were infiltrating your systems to get data to then open fake accounts in your customer's name or your employee's name, that has shifted. And now the premier thing that's happening that we've heard all over the news are these ransomware attacks where they go into your system, they hold your data hostage unless you pay a ransom. And those numbers are much higher. On average now, they're asking about 750,000 and $1 million, for smaller companies. So if you don't have the right coverage for that, it can put you out of business, really, if you're a small business owner.
So if I am a small business, and we're a small business, what are some of the things that we need to be looking at to ensure that, we have the right type of policies in place to be able to protect us? And and what will those policies do in the event that we do have a data breach?
Well, the first thing you need, I'd say, get a cyber policy for sure. And there are a couple sides to a cyber policy, which I'll explain. But just as a business, the easiest thing you can do is have multi-factor authentication on all of your email, your financial systems. Make sure if you have vendors that log into your system that they also have that coverage and you have a way to verify them.
So I don't want to, I do want to interrupt. I was going to say, I don't want to interrupt, but I do. So how can we, if we do have vendors that have access to our system, how can we really ensure that they in fact are following those same protocols for us?
Well, the first thing would be you have to lay it out in a contract. So anybody you're working with, put it in the contract. It's hard coded there. And if it's a failure on their end, then you make it that they have to hold you harmless if they fail on their end by not following the rules in your contract. Definitely, you can always get a cybersecurity firm. You know, you can hire them in a one-off to make sure that there is a system in place that vendors have to have those things in place before they can access your system. And there are ways to verify what kind of authentication that a vendor has, for example.
I feel like there's so many topics that we could talk about, but I feel like this is such an important topic that we're going to kind of hang out here for a while.
Okay.
So if somebody does have a data breach and they are one of our insureds, what happens? What is the process? And what recommendations would you have to help people in the event that they feel like they're, well, first of all, we would ask them that they would call us. Secondly, you know, what would you put into place that would allow, that would be kind of best practice for somebody? So let's answer the first one better in a way that we can understand. I get a hit, what needs to happen?
If they have a data breach and they have insurance, the carriers all work with cyber experts. So the first thing they'll do is come in, you place the claim, obviously. You'll get assigned a cybersecurity firm that works with that carrier. They'll come in first, they'll assess how the breach happened, what records were exposed, because of course you have to report it as well. There are reporting duties you have to do. So once they do the assessment, figure out how the breach occurred, then they will obviously cut off that channel. And if any data was lost, they'll help you with the restoration of that data as well. But also the other thing that's very, very important is having backups. And I would suggest, you know, gone are the days where people back up their stuff weekly, because this can happen at any point. And if you know, have your manufacturer, let's say, and you get orders all the time, and you have you know, a B2B website, and orders are coming in, and you don't back up every day, you're going to lose all of those orders for that week. And you may not be able to rightfully assess what your true business interruption loss is from that data breach.
So there really needs to be another layer here, and somebody really has to have a very good MSP who manages their IT, and they should have a some type of cyber action plan, it would seem, as well, that they can help accommodate and help clients in the event that they do have a data breach.
Yes, I think cyber assessment is very good. Like I said, you can get it one-off, or you can get a continually monitoring system. Yeah. So people can see if people have tried to attack your system, and you can put protections to prevent against that. You've got to have an action plan. So if this happens, what do I do next? If you don't have insurance, you're actually starting sort of at the back of the field, because now you're trying to put your plan in place. You have to go out and find a cyber company
Correct.
to help you with what's happening. And that, can take a while for you to hire, engage someone, hire them, and then they come in and learn your systems and stuff and assess it. Whereas if you do the work up front and have had, a scan done on your system, and you have a plan that says, hey, if this happens, this is who I call. If I don't have insurance, or if this happens, I call my insurer and they take care of the rest for me.
Yeah, it seems to me like the scariest part of all that would be me having to let my clients know that I had a data breach, and they've been thinking or hoping that I'm being the best steward of that data. So there is a component to that as well, isn't there?
Of course, and each state is different, and the states have been pushing, and people have been pushing for years to try to get a uniform plan of action and uniform rules for reporting and stuff. But each state has their own rules, and that makes it, if you're a company that does business across the United States, that makes it very difficult, because everybody has different rules.
Yeah, and that leads me to a different thought. And that is kind of during the pandemic, and we're still here. I noticed that employees started spreading out all over the country. Does that create, because of that, does that then create a potential liability that an employer, because they have an employee residing in a certain state, may have to adhere to a certain type of standard that they don't know that they have to have because they're adhering to the standard where the organization is situs?
And that happens a lot, but actually a lot of the states, like California is one, Massachusetts is another. They have I'd say the toughest rules. So if you want to, do a plan, look at their requirements and build your plan, because you'll fall in line with all the other states. New York also has very tough plans. What you want to do, of course, in the case of a breach, you have to notify your clients that a breach has happened. That's why it's better to kind of assess, if you have a cyber firm, to assess exactly what data was affected and who was affected.
Got it.
And then you have to notify. So that's letters. And then you have to offer a year of credit monitoring to those people.
And all the PR behind it.
That's another great
nightmare.
part of the cyber policy. It has the reputational damage that might happen to you, so they will hire a firm to get in front of it for you, and do your apology tour, so to speak, and so that your reputation in the long term is not harmed forever. And we've seen so many breaches. Target, the US government, they got breached a number of years ago, many departments. So it's not, I think it's not as bad as it used to be, the damage that was done to your reputation, but it still does make people leery that, do I want to entrust you in the future with my information?
That's the whole thing. I think and again, as a small employer, my fear would be that if the government gets hacked or some big organization gets hacked, people are like, well, that happens. It's happening all the time. But if somebody hits me as a small employer, I feel like it would be much harder for me to be able to weather that storm, even though I may have done all of these things. And so I think that's why it's so important to make sure that you have a great policy in place that can help with that kind of PR part. Because I think, unfortunately, there are a lot of advantages to working with a small to medium-sized regional employer for your outsourcing, because you get a lot more in terms of support, oftentimes than you would get from a much larger consulting firm, for instance, especially within our industry. But I feel like we have to hold ourselves to a much higher standard than as small employers, whether we're a nonprofit or a for-profit, because there's probably going to be a lot less forgiveness in the event that somebody does have a breach. So I think it's important that everybody should probably have a cybersecurity review to make sure that your policies are keeping up to date with what's been happening in the marketplace. Please reach out to Althea and our team. We would be happy to get you in touch with her. But we will also give you her contact information directly in this newsletter when it goes out. There's so many other things I want to talk about with you, but I don't want somebody to sit here and have to watch a 30-minute video. So we'll do some other videos later.
Okay. Actually, I did want to mention one thing though, regarding the work at home.
Yes.
That also puts the company more at risk because they don't know what kind of security that the employee has on their network at home.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that and I was actually talking to somebody about this earlier. There's actually a lot of liabilities having employees work from home that employers may not recognize. And a lot of that can be solved probably through having a proper action plan in place for businesses for their employees. If they're going to be working at home, to have a set of standards and have the employee agree with those. And I know that's something that you can help people draft.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I've helped some of my insureds set that up. You want consistent rules across the board.
Yeah.
And want to make sure the employees are following that rule, because in addition to, of course, the cyber exposure, you also have the workers' comp exposure.
Yeah, and we could talk another 20 minutes on that. So we're going to save work comp for our next call.
Okay.
We'll stick on cyber for this one because I don't want to lose people's interest, but it will be coming soon. And thank you for taking the time. I know you're very busy during the day, but I think it's important that we put some of these tidbits out for our clients and for people that aren't our clients and still enjoy listening to this content about things that they should be thinking about. And reach out to Althea. You can just call the office, talk to whoever your account manager is, or we will post her contact information directly in the newsletter. So let's get everybody safe and secure, and help people put in action plans in the event that somebody does have a breach. We're there to be able to assist.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Althea. Have a lovely day.